What indeed. Now, the Mayor of Vancouver, I know who, wants us to be vegetarian and is promoting Meatless Mondays. The Mayor of Montreal has been charged with 14 counts around corruption issues. And the Mayor of Toronto has been, well, what hasn't he been accused of, really? I'm waiting for the Mayor of Nowhere, Manitoba, to annex the Sudetenland or form an alliance with the Communist Chinese government. But it goes beyond all that, doesn't it? While there are good, and they really are good, hard-working local councillors and municipal politicians, too many of them play at being MPs or work with the ambition of being a federal or provincial member always at the front of their minds. I'm sorry, guys, but you're dog catchers. I mean, seriously, you're there to make sure garbage is picked up, potholes are filled, libraries open at the right times. Stop interfering, stop trying to govern above your pay grade. I've no idea, frankly, if the Montreal mayor is guilty, and considering the degree of corruption in Quebec and the level of hatred of the English and the Jews, the mayor is an Anglophone Jew, it wouldn't surprise me if there was more to all this than we're being told. But the point is deeper. Adam Vaughan in Toronto, blowharding his arrogant way through media and politics. Councillor Mamaliti embarrassing the body politic with his absurd remarks and irresponsible hyperbole. People using local councils as springboards into bigger, more lucrative positions. These are public servants, not public spectacles, not public laughing stocks. And if they are to be the centre of amusement for the rest of us, well, at least do it in the American fashion.
Okay.
Sorry. Hey, buddy. Hey, it's enough. It's enough. Police officer. Police officer. Police officer.
Don't hit him.
Now, that was a council meeting, but it goes well beyond local councils, of course. Where politicians in general have jettisoned the notion of being representative of the people to being professional politicians and, this is important, part of a new governing class, They consider themselves a breed apart, which is why so many have felt enabled to exploit the system in the Senate, any sort of chamber, or with Boy Trudeau and his obscene abuse of the speaking circuit to make a fortune and, frankly, not give a damn about the needy groups who have paid so much money to hire him. Then there are the periphery people, the pressure groups, the so-called consultants. What do? The hacks, the Ottawa lobby types and the Ottawa writer types who cover the Ottawa lobby types and the rest of them. It's also incestuous. This is not how the system is supposed to be. Democracy is broken and the Canadian people are not being given their money's worth. Well, Toronto City Council in particular is increasingly an institution for the unloved, the unwashed, the unwanted and the unhinged. Here is former Manitoba Communist Party leader, Councillor Paula Fletcher, being all sane and reasonable.
There's many young people here tonight that haven't driven down here like you. Should we cut Transit City so they can't get down from North York and Rexdale and Malvern? Is that your suggestion?
Final question.
Is that your suggestion tonight?
Councillor Fletcher.
All down here by the John Tory show?
Actually.
Is that it?
Councillor
Is that your suggestion?
Councillor Fletcher.
Actually, Councillor, I walked.
Councillor Fletcher, I'm asking
Call
you.
down by the John Tory show.
Councillor Fletcher, I'll get your answer for you. I'm asking you to calm your...
Fall down by the John Tory show from the Rotunda
Councillor
here
Fletcher.
tonight.
You should be fired.
Oh, come and run against me. Come on down, baby.
By the way, John Tory, who happens to be a friend of mine, is one of the few people left, I think, in politics who is one of the decent kind, the older kind. But look at that loon. Embarrassing, infantile, but entirely typical. It actually makes you long for the days of Mel Lastman and his nauseating appliance commercials. And none of us thought that would ever be possible to say. None of us. Nobody. Oh, good. Yes, why not? Okay. Ready? Okay. On the arena tonight, no bloody idea what we're going to do because we haven't got the show ready yet. Sorry. No, okay, let's do that properly. What do we have? We have, we have the Egyptian thing. We have Christian. Okay. On the arena tonight, we have some moderation and sense and sensibility from an Egyptian lunatic talking about the Jews, and also the decline of Christianity and why in the United States even you can be persecuted for daring to say the Lord's Prayer. Who would be a mayor in contemporary Canada? You've got a life expectancy of about 15 minutes before they come and arrest you for something or other. I mean, I wonder what people outside of the country that now think about that. Canada's really interesting, you know, Toronto and Montreal, London, Ontario, all these mayors getting into trouble. Good in a way, but Anthony Furey joins us from Ottawa. Anthony, let's begin with the Montreal issue. I don't know the guy, and no one who lives outside of Montreal really understands Montreal politics because it's just played on a different level. But there is context here. He's not a popular man. Anglophone, Jewish, not exactly the favorite demographic of the separatists in that province.
No, that is true. The interesting thing, the funny takeaway for me in all this is, well, he's not the mayor, he's the acting mayor. The mayor, he was arrested, taken away from office. Now, the acting mayor is taken away, so you don't even have the elected mayor in position. Now, you're left with, they're going to appoint another acting mayor. Pauline Marois said, no, I'm not going to put it into receivership. I'm not going to put some Deloitte middle management guy in charge of Montreal like they've done in Detroit or like they do in Aboriginal reserves. I know what you mean about the demographics, but I also think when you look at the dragnet of all this, and I don't say that as a derogatory term, I think it's a good dragnet, everybody's implicated in this. I mean, the poor people in Montreal, like you say, we have our two solitudes. We don't pay attention to what's happening there. They don't know who to trust.
It's looking bad. I'm waiting for the mayor of Casterbridge to be arrested next. I mean, it used to be quite... joke. It used to be quite an honor to be a mayor. It was one of those positions where you're not really a politician like those MPs, and you do care about the area, and you must have a certain local popularity. And indeed, I know many mayors in this country who are just like that. They're local business people or whatever, and they have a great deal of regard, and they're thought to be above the political infighting. But we've rather lost that in many of our urban centres. And
I'm so glad you bring that up, because the key problem with political scandals today, and this is the problem with the Montreal issue, people are entering public life for absolutely the wrong reasons. Now, I look back, Dalton McGuinty, he's just quit. He's just left his MPP seat. He entered politics, and I don't mean to be negative towards his family. He entered politics because his father died unexpectedly, and they already had signs that said Dalton McGuinty on them. I mean, they've said that. You should be entering politics because you look at your community and you say, and don't forget, all politicians do is they implement change via legislation. And they're not the guys who make sure the water's running. So you should be entering politics saying there are 3 things that I'm really passionate about, and I'm going to change them in the next term because the tax code is too complicated and I want to change this zoning regulation. That's it. You should have an idea. But when you just say, like Dalton McGuinty did, and maybe like these guys did, I haven't followed their histories, when you just say, I want to be mayor. Why? Because I want to be there. I want to be there to be able to impose my judgment on random situations. You're not coming with any political philosophy. I start to think, well, what are you going to do? Because you don't have an actual real reason to be there. So you're going to fill the void. You're going to fill the void with all these games that the Montreal politicians have done. You're not there as a public servant. You're just there for yourself. So, of course, when someone puts an envelope of cash across your table, well, if you're there for yourself, you're going to take the envelope.
Yeah. You mentioned that the familial aspect of this, which I think is quite pertinent. We've always had it, and we've, back to early presidents of the United States, we had family members. But if you think of McGuinty's father and, say, Paul Martin's father, the fathers in both cases were far better men, far more integrity, far more dedication to public service. But for McGuinty, who's a trained lawyer, to go into politics, yeah, I mean, his father had the same name, but beyond that, it was what you did because Daddy did it. Well, and the brothers there at a federal level. Politics is not meant to be like that. It's meant to be a temporary place for someone to represent the people in the area. I mentioned in the monologue, you probably didn't hear it, but this idea of the governing class. It's not just in Canada. Throughout Western Europe as well, we have this now. The governing class. What do you want to be? I want to be a politician. It shouldn't be like that.
Well, and I've always likened Trudeau mania to the love of the Kennedy clan. I always say this is Camelot Redux. And the problem is, and I don't know what your position on this. Maybe I don't think we've sparred on this before. I mean, I'm a pretty big anti-monarchist in Canada in terms of getting rid of our ties to the monarchy, precisely because it presents the idea that this sort of hereditary governance is acceptable. We get enamored with it because that's what we see in the history books. That's the narrative. We love the all the past books of yore show the hereditary chain of command. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Like you said, in most communities, it's, well, the guy has 3 car dealerships, he knows every family in the neighborhood, he knows every street in the area, and he knows which of the sewers need to be replaced, so we're not creating sinkholes like they are in Ottawa. It's that simple. It's not the idea of having someone walk amongst the people and shake their hands and kiss the babies. That's what the monarchs do. There are countries that have that. Fine, that's up to them whether they have that or not. It's not the place for democracy, this hereditary sense. Right away, it's a terrible idea that people just assume Justin Trudeau would A, run to be an MP, run for leader. I've never entirely placed the blame with Justin Trudeau that there's this vacuousness that's ascending to the Prime Minister's seat. A lot of it is blame for the Canadian public. A lot of older Canadians say, great, Trudeau again. It's nonsense. Look at this. I turned this into a Trudeau bashing segment. It was about Montreal mayors. I'm quite talented with that circulation.
Yes, no, it's always a thing to do. I mean, I think it's very important indeed. The monarch is a different issue. It's strange. It's ironic, isn't it, that people look to the monarch because they say, well, at least they're not like politicians. And I suppose they get away with something because of that. But they're
more like senators.
Well, they're above, yeah, they're above politics. But it's not so much the individuals. I don't think Mike Duffy is a bad man. I don't think Pamela Wallin is a bad person. I think that people go into this context of governance and so much is offered to them and they've learned, or perhaps they haven't learned the alternative, that you just don't take what is being offered. There is a degree of corruption, and some of the least corrupt actually are people whose politics we probably wouldn't approve of. They can be quite socialistic, but they do believe organised labour and so on, and we're here to represent. But a lot of other politicians, I was reading yesterday for the other interest that so many MPs have, Liberal, Tory and NDP.
Right.
And many of them, and they're quite legal, they're quite valid, but what is their actual job? Are they managing their investment accounts? Are they managing speaking companies? Are they managing dealerships? Or are they there to be delegates or representatives of the Canadian people?
And you're right, some people are not doing their primary position. And I think you're right. I mean, when a lot of people say, what do we do about these scandals, the Senate expanse scandals, the Montreal scandals? Well, the truth of, and to me this is like when we discuss the bullying mania. Yeah. There's actually no legislative answer. These things are already wrong. They're already illegal. The problem is there are people who continue to want to do these things. And that's the problem. It's just the fiend in human. It's people who are pliable to this. So when someone like Dalton McGuinty has the nerve to go up in front of Ontario and say, I have the great leadership skills to represent the province, and then shows he doesn't, shows he quits his MPP seat because he's just upset with negative media press, it really shows that I think they were never sincere about that. And that's what the Montreal mayors are showing with their scandals. Of course, I'm not likening McGuinty to the Montreal allegations, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, any mayor in Toronto watching this right now, if I were you, if there's a knock on the door, pretend you're not there. Thank you very much indeed.
Goodbye now.